I'm ready.
Three,
Okay.
two.
Pandemic, Passion, and Poetry Open Mic Night Experience Round 2. Hello, I'm Brittany Cohen, your delighted host for the evening. Welcome to the Pandemic, Passion, and Poetry Open Mic Part 2. I'm excited and delighted to be your host for the evening. Um, and thank you for coming back if you joined us last time. I'm excited to share with you all of our lovely performers. We have some familiar faces from last week, and we have some new ones that I'm delighted to show off to you. Also, remembering why we're here, feel free throughout the night to check out the GoFundMe pages on the event page and consider donating. All of the GoFundMe pages go towards supporting restaurant workers, performance artists, um, at-risk kids, the Museum Council, um, the uh, the trans community, all surrounded. This is all surrounded towards supporting those struggling from COVID-19. So feel free to check that out throughout the night. Again, I have my trusty marker from my very own classroom, and this will be my microphone for the evening. Hello, hello. I chose blue this time because why not? Okay, so, oh, I also wanted to mention something special. It's it's April, so it's National Poetry Month. So I think it's really great that we are performing poetry and such in this special month. I just really love that we started it last week in April and we're continuing it, and it's great. Um, so, speaking of my classroom, to start tonight's activities, I want to share a poem that I wrote a few days ago that was actually inspired by one of our performers, Alana, who you'll see later. It's probably no surprise. I'm a teacher, and it's been tough not being in my classroom. And I was talking to Alana about, you know what, my students are also tough. Like they've been through stuff and they're tough. And I was rhyming, and I was like, wait a second, I've got a poem here. And so to kind of process my feelings about schools closing and thinking about all of that, all my feelings behind that, I wrote this poem that I wanted to share with you. Um, this is this is for my kids. This is called "All Right, Miss Cohen, That's Enough." My kids are strong and tough. Yeah, they've been through some stuff, but there's a thought I won't dismiss, that they just can't go through this without me right now to guide them, show them how to cope and take deep breaths, not be frightened by all these deaths. Perhaps it's selfish to think just I could hug them when they cry. I'm just a teacher. I just instruct. I really won't bring them luck. Real pathetic of me to feel that I really just can't deal without my sweet girls and boys, that I miss the chaos and the noise. It's really not right to pout when this is really all about keeping them home and well, but sometimes it just feels like hell that my purpose is just lost. 5 weeks now has its cost, but really the hardest thing about a school bell silenced ring is that I need them too, because they help me not feel blue, and now I can't have their support. No, I just get cut short by pointless dropped calls, no more high fives in the halls. I can't tell them that I'm proud, keep them quiet when they get loud. All I can do is sit in bed, just hoping they're being fed. No, there must be something more for my sweet babes that I adore. More than waiting and hoping that schools would just reopen, they deserve so much more than that, need some time to share and chat. Their feelings with those they know will help them learn and grow. Maybe for now my rhyme will be enough in the meantime. Yeah, my words they can reach, until then I can teach. I'm hopeful that they hear it, rhyme along, lift their spirits. Let them know that through and through that we're stuck together like glue. That even though times are tough, that even though times are strange, my love for them will never change. Time will pass and flowers will bloom outside a silenced classroom. But one day we'll be back. We'll share stories, have a snack, fill up the classroom nice and snug with long overdue group hugs. Until then, I'll just hang tight from the sidelines, help them fight. Though they don't need it, they're tough. All right, Miss Cohen, that's enough. Thank you. Um, so speaking of my kids, yeah, they're all tough. They deal with a lot at home, and if you check out the GoFundMe page, there are specific pages on there that protect kids like mine and those who are at risk and hungry and struggling at home. There's a really great one called Protecting the Powerless that advocates for neglected, hungry kids. There's also Agility for Kids, which which funds kids to get laptops so they can do distance learning. So feel free to check that out. Thank you for listening to that. I had mentioned in the poem about kind of not having a purpose, and I just want to thank you all for being here, doing this. Being here and doing this gives me a purpose. So thank you. So now it's time for me to introduce our first performer, Natalie Heath. So when I first initiated these open mics, I didn't realize how far it was going to reach, but it turns out it reached all the way to the UK. Last time I was talking about making online connections, and this was definitely one of them. After the first open mic, Natalie reached out to me from the UK, and she said, "I really love what you guys are doing. I found the event page, and I want to be a part of it, and I want to make connections." And before we knew it, we were group chatting. We were chatting, and she's the sweetest person ever. And it's way past midnight over there, so I'm gonna let her start. So I am absolutely honored to introduce to you, new to our lineup, Natalie Heath, who's going to share some poetry with us. So clap for Natalie! Woo!
Oh, thanks very much, Brittany. Yeah, it's an absolute honour to be here. Thank you so much for welcoming me with open arms. So I watched the show from last week, and I really enjoyed all the performances. And I found it really interesting how, as creatives, we are sort of processing what's happening through our art and our creative outlets, whatever they may be. So pandemic poetry has come out of this, hasn't it? And I am no exception. This has definitely filtered through into my recent poetry. So I'm going to read you a few of those today. And then there's one in there that's in a book that's going to be coming out soon that I'm writing. But it's still got a really nice sort of theme that fits with this whole thing. So I'll stop talking about them now and read them. So the first one is called Reflection. Corona crisis brings new laws, reality viewed through a distorted lens, events unfolding through a pause, politicians pretending to be our friends, quarantine days sewn together, an endless flowing swatch of time, blessed at least with clement weather, though enjoyment brings a hefty fine. Pandemic creates its own infection, panic, fear, and so much grief. Time used well for life reflection, meditation brings such sweet relief. Okay, the next one I wrote right at the beginning of the lockdown, before we realised just how awful everything was. So yeah, this was a few weeks ago now, and this came out of a couple of prompts as well. I follow a few prompt accounts on Twitter, and I like using prompts to come up with poems. So this has a few of those in. It's called Climbing Wild Sunrises. Corseted shy, we segregate, softly separate, isolate, swirling into moonlit eyes, sudden surprise, is it lies? Forest dancing on our own, dyer's throne, all alone. Shadows melting into one. We'll see the sun when it's done. We'll be climbing wild sunrises again. This third one, when I was talking to Brittany, I was telling her that my favourite format for poetry is haiku. I really like writing them. I write them pretty much every day. Find them very quick and easy to write, and I like how you can get a really sort of effective and strong message away in quite a short and succinct few words. But this poem is my first attempt at actually putting the haiku format together to create a longer poem. So it's still just 3 verses, but each verse is in that haiku format. So see what you think. It's called Connected. Put your claws away. You have no need of them here. Your pain is my pain. Your dreams are my dreams. By this web of existence, we're all connected. Take my outstretched hand. Let's go forward together in love and in peace. This next one is one I mentioned earlier that wasn't written during this pandemic. I wrote this quite a few months ago now. And this was actually inspired by the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if anybody's read it, but it made a big impression on me and my spiritual practice. And the first 2 lines of this poem are actually a line from the book. And it was that line and the sort of section that Tolle was talking about that inspired this poem. It's called Now. Primary reality within, secondary reality without. Resisting what is, denying the now, just brings fear and doubt. Making the present moment into an enemy pollutes your mind and also affects the collective human psyche. Drop the negativity that your mind created. Too much time spent on the past and the future yet awaited. Taking responsibility for your inner space is how you're freed from mental pain, a permanent smile upon your face. Here and now is all there is. That's real reality. There are no issues in the now, just stillness and clarity. So next time you feel anxious about a problem you perceive, forget the future, let go of the past, and get ready to receive. This next one is the longest one. It's still not very long, don't worry. It's the longest one out of all of them. And this was written in pandemic times. This was actually written, I think, about a week ago. And it's kind of like a reflection on how this lockdown has allowed me to really dive deeper into my spiritual practice. And I've come to certain realizations through having the space and time to dedicate more to that. And this is what came of that experience and that reflection. It's called As If. 3 precious jewels reveal the truth. Gazing up at diamond-scattered navy satin, I meet the multifaceted magnificence of this moment. Eyes disguised these long years, walking my illusionary path alone in the deceit of dark. Ravenously empty, always wanting just one more. One more moment, one more word, one more treasure, one more kiss. Unaccepting grasping, controlling, blown about on the worldly winds, unable to find true rest, wanting things to be different, yet resistant to change, unskillful in my long sleep. Now, with all the pretense and ego stripped away, I wake to this dawning paradigm and I understand what's real and what's true, what matters and what does not. Standing naked in the new world, my unshrouded eyes behold cosmic wisdom as if for the first time. The web of existence glistens in the dewy morning light, as if each moment wasn't whole and perfect all along, as if we weren't whole and perfect all along, as if. And then the last one, last week I really liked it when Ryan ended on a haiku. And as I've previously said, they're my favourite form of poetry. And I really like the message that Ryan's haiku left me with. And so I hope that this one may give you a similar feeling. Breathing in wisdom, bound by illusion no more. I let go of fear. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Natalie. Give it up for Natalie. Oh my gosh,
Thank
that
you.
was beautiful. Clap for Natalie. Clap, clap, clap. Natalie, thank you so much for reading those beautiful poems. I know I had no doubt that they were going to be incredibly optimistic and beautiful. There were some lines that really stood out to me. You had mentioned something about a permanent smile, and through your poems, you really did put a permanent smile on everyone's faces. You wrote about, thinking about what really matters, and what matters is what we're doing now and sharing love and being kind to each other and everything. Also, haikus are a big thing right now because my lovely boyfriend Alex, who's performing later, he had said that it's National Haiku Day, I believe. So cool. We'll celebrate that. Lots of great things, lots of wonderful things happening. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you for coming out so late and sharing with us. Clap for Natalie. Woo! Okay. Also, I wanted to let you know that I will be doing shout outs to anyone that tunes in. So if you're watching, shoot me a message or a text. And I'll call out your name. So far, let's see. Scott Erickson, my good friend Scott Erickson is watching. Hi, Scott. My good friend Dan. Hi, Dan. Good to see you. Thanks for watching. Josh Power is watching, and Katie Ross is watching. Also, I don't want to mispronounce your name, but Afshin, I've seen your name pop up. You have beautiful messages down there. Jessica Cohen. Hi, Jessica. And I saw Matt C. Hi, Matt. How you doing? Okay. So yeah, feel free to reach out throughout the night. I'll give you a little shout out. Wow, we have 23 people watching. That is so exciting. I can't believe it. I'm really excited. So yeah, we're making all of these online connections. Like I said, Natalie, I met her completely online. Hi, Joe. Phenomenal. Thank you. I met Natalie completely online, and the next performer I want to introduce to you. Oh, my dad just said hi. Hi, Dad. Okay. The next performer that I want to introduce to you is somebody else that I met online and who has become a really good friend of mine. Next up, we have my dear friend Finn Baker. I met Finn several months ago, and we connected and we bonded over our love of music, and through Facebook Messenger alone, through videos and audios, he's graciously shared his music with me, from demos to music knowledge to, hey, look, check out this equipment, check out these pedals. And it's really been amazing watching, getting to be in Finn's world in that way. And throughout our time knowing each other, he's become one of my favorite musicians. He's a golden-hearted person. He's a strong advocate for the LGBTQ community. And he's going to be playing a few songs for us tonight. I am absolutely delighted to introduce my dear friend, Finn Baker. Everybody clap for Finn.
Hello. Thank you, Brittany. Thanks for that introduction. And thank you to all the performers who will be performing today. This first song that I'm doing was written by a man named Bob Dylan. It was released back in 1964 on the album of the same name. And I feel like the lyrics still apply today and apply maybe now more than ever. The song's called These Times They Are Changing. Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. There's no telling who that it's naming, for the loser now will later to win, for the times they are a-changing. Come, senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he who gets hurt will be he who has stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changing. Come, mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please gather a new one if you can lend a hand, for the times they are a-changing. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading. The first one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changing. Thank you. This next song is an original of mine. I wrote it earlier this week and actually just finished it earlier today, so I apologize if it's a little rough at all. But this song I wrote, I usually write most of my lyrics revolving around depressions or anxiety or the feeling of being stuck. And while these lyrics are about that, I feel it can also apply to the feeling of being stuck in this quarantine. Your words bite me on the lip, consecrated from the things I did. But I don't want to ask anymore. My selfish acts impossibly ignored. Can't keep living this way. Cut to myself day by day. Can't keep living this way. tell me what it's all worth. Wish I could go back before birth. They say I gotta keep living life. I tell myself one day I might. Can't keep living this way. Kept to myself day by day. Can't keep living this way. Mental blood decay. Already wasted too much time. Wish somebody could sort out my mind. Suffocate my thoughts this afternoon. My young age impossibly ruined. Still I gotta keep living life. But already I want to say goodnight. Can't keep living this way. Kept to myself day by day. Can't keep living this way. Mental blood decay. Thank you. This last one I'm going to do is by a band called Neutral Milk Hotel. It doesn't really have anything to do with quarantine, just a song I like. So it's called Two-Headed Boy. Two-headed boy, all floating in glass. The sun, it has passed, now it's blacker than black. I can hear as you tap on your jaw. And I am listening to hear where you are. I am listening to hear where you are. Two-headed boy, put on Sunday shoes and dance round the room to accordion keys with the needle that sings in your heart. Catching signals that sound in the dark. Catching signals that sound in the dark. We will take off our clothes and they'll be placing fingers through the notches in your spine. And when all is breaking, everything that you could keep inside, now your eyes ain't moving now, they just lay there in their climb. Two-headed boy, with pulleys and weights, creating a radio play just for two, with the moon across her face. And through the music he sweetly displays. Silver speakers that sparkle all day, made for his lover who's floating and choking with her hand across her face. In the dark we will take off our clothes and they'll be placing fingers through the notches in your spine. And when all is breaking, everything that you could keep inside, now your eyes ain't moving now. They just lay there in their climb. I'm two-headed boy. There's no reason to grieve. The world that you need is wrapped in gold, silver sleeves left beneath Christmas trees in the snow. And I will take you and leave you alone, watching spirals of white softly flow over your eyelids, and all you did will wait until the point when you let go. Dee 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 dee. Dee 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 dee. Dee 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 dee. All right, thank you for tuning in, and thank you again, Brittany, for hosting this, and to all the performers who will be performing tonight.
Okay. Wow. Everybody give it up for Finn. Woo! Lots of really great things in that performance. First of all, thinking back to our title of the event, Pandemic Passion and Poetry, Finn, when he plays, I just can't help but be overwhelmed by the passion that he has in his voice, in his tone and everything. It's beautiful, and that's what we're all here for. He also had mentioned with the Neutral Milk Hotel song, I'm just going to play it because I like it. And I think that's a really important thing right now for all of us, is we're just doing things that we like to keep ourselves busy and keep our minds occupied through all this. So Finn, thank you for bringing that up. Also, as I mentioned earlier, Finn is an advocate for the LGBTQ community, which reminds me that I added a new GoFundMe page on the event page. It's called UndocuTrans, and it helps those in the trans community who are undocumented receive funds until they're able to get their stimulus checks. So please feel free to check that out. Once again, give it up for Finn, voice of an angel. Amazing. Thank you. During Finn's performance, there were some people who had reached out. So I want to give a shout out to Dan Mosel, Sarah Leckcoat. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Michaela, Dawn, Joe, and I think that was it for right now. But thank you everyone who's watching and showing love. And I'm seeing your comments, and I'm like, everyone's being so loving and encouraging, and it warms my heart. Again, thank you for being here. Feel free to check out those those GoFundMe pages on the event page and donate where you can. Okay, so also speaking of performance artists, there's a GoFundMe page on there for performance artists, so feel free to check that out. Okay, so next up, I am delighted to share with you to welcome back to the stage Jonathan Matos. He is not only an incredible writer, but he's been our tech guy. He's been our backbone. I don't know what I would do without John right now. I would probably not be here. So I am delighted to welcome back Jonathan Matos to the stage. Jonathan, cue Jonathan, please.
Thanks a lot, Brittany. It's been amazing to see this come together. I use this channel with my friend Matt C, who you might have seen in the chat, to talk about fiction. He's a cartoonist. I'm a prose writer, and part of the mission of the channel is to get people to see how powerful art is as a way of healing, and to show how we see the world, so that people can see, oh, you see this the way I see this, and what comfort there is in that in these hard times. And I'm really thankful that Brittany was able to put this all together. The selection I'll be reading from today is from a short story collection that I just released on Wattpad. And it's White Devil 3 Stories for You. It's free. I want all of the attention to be on the Facebook event page, and pouring all of your support that you can towards that. But so just so you know, this is one of the 3 stories from this collection that's available for free. And it's a sci-fi story that kind of blends The Handmaid's Tale and some of Isaac Asimov. I'm really inspired by how they talk about the human body and what it means to be human. And so, without further ado, this is a story called Neon Bathsheba. Odette Rubinek thought she must be dreaming. Images floated through her mind that were tied to taste, texture, and color in kaleidoscopic waves. Her throat tasted like cotton. No, cotton candy. Or was that the pink and purple light that poked her eyes? It was an ultraviolet assault that flashed again and again and again across her struggling lids. Recognition woke in Odette before she did. It was unmistakable. She sat in the belly of a Purple Hearts bus. But in her mind, she saw her mother putting lavender flowers in her hand, pushing her after a big bus full of modified women. Little Odette couldn't stand the big anime eyes her mother had given herself, green and gaudy, so she took the flowers and chased the bus, her frilly white bishop whipping in the wind. A shock of air blasted in Odette's face, closing her mind's eye and waking her from the memory. The air sounded like gas passing as it eked through the crevice between the mask and her cheeks. She was drowsy, but made the effort to look down and see what looked like a tablecloth draped over her legs. The oxygen took her back to that day, balancing on the hover track. The sun hung low. Her memory morphed into the disco sun that sat before her in the bus. It was the core intelligence that ran the machine around her, and it pulsed with an eerie violet glow. Odette closed her eyes, trying to return to her childhood. Her mind's eye bounced to and fro, from the nurse bots escorting neighborhood girls into the bus, to her bare feet taking step after step across the rail. Tears froze on her cheeks, calcified by a sudden gust. She fell back as if in slow motion. The steel bit into her back and thigh, making her yelp in pain. Odette laid there, tears gone, nose running. She caught her breath and slowly rose to her feet. Her mother yelled from the balcony of their penthouse, cursing the air. She didn't call her by her name. She just fumed about how slippery she was. Called her a little monster. Odette didn't want to go back. She was going to get on that bus. It was playing Tchaikovsky. She loved Tchaikovsky. But the track jerked underneath her, and she took a false step. Odette wobbled, lost her balance, and spun off the rail into the air. The shock forced her to look. Her eyes rolled back with the rest of her head. Her mother was a sobbing statue, falling up as Odette twirled down. "Is that a crystal ball?" a teenage girl beside her asked through her mask. Odette's blood was pumping too quickly to respond. The girl was bathed in pink so that her yellow skin glowed like a fuzzy peach. The girl had orange cat ears and artificially enlarged eyes, like Mom. "It's a brain," came a low purr from beside her. Odette swallowed hard as the sight of a shirtless man, young and muscular. His body subtracted light from the soft benches they were lashed to, but his smile shined brighter for his tan skin. White plumage jutted out from behind his head. Angel's wings. "Miranda, is that you?" the teen girl squealed. Before the young man could answer, the door roared open and a driver bot approached. Odette's eyes widened as the bot rolled backwards, spinning its treads like a dog shaking off soapy bathwater. She caught the flash of a white tiger pouncing on the back of its leather jacket, and Odette suppressed a laugh as it turned to reveal the Purple Heart lapel and fedora dangling from its antenna. Driver bots on luxury vehicles were normally dressed in tuxedos, their porcelain hulls a throwback to their creator. Business and pleasure rarely intersected anymore, making most Purple Heart's driver bots a Frankenstein mix of comrade fascist ideas about heteronormative desire. As the driver bot unleashed each passenger, Odette noticed what looked like a picnic tablecloth was just a puffy skirt. Beneath it was a basket with a stuffed terrier, its dirty blonde fur electrified by the purple light. Recessed bulbs around the bus popped on, highlighting a girl across from Odette wearing Lolita. She recalled her aunt lecturing a co-ed in Lolita at Disney World of all places. Her aunt fed the girl rape statistics and begged her not to infantilize herself. Odette recalled the irony of that girl, looking like an 18th century infant in all that lace, an umbrella hanging over her in place of a bassinet, and yet she flipped her aunt the bird. What was once taboo became the new norm, fashioned after the beauty icon who went by Shelley. A self-made millionaire by 19, Shelley achieved an online following after sharing trial success stories of the Da Vinci derriere. Her work transliterating the human genome into binary code went unrecognized until she applied quantum robotics to her friends' posteriors. Their instant success as Instagram models began a tidal wave of demand for her body hacking code, especially with comrade fascist leaders. Holding out for the highest government contract, Shelley adopted a Lolita persona on all social media, IMAP, HTTP, and FTP servers, often signing off Instagram stories and Quora posts alike with a gif of her twerking while wearing a bustle. "Perfection," the Lolita girl whispered. Odette didn't know whether the word was self-reflexive or if this girl shared her automatic fixation on the angelic man standing beside her. The orb pulsed to the beat of her heart, but Odette knew it was just the driver bot being fed info from Shelley's hive drive. She had to think of her own mantra to align herself. Her aunt's prayers be damned. Her mother's sister always spoke over Odette's father to wish away the H-bomb. Meanwhile, lean-in feminists like Shelley sought to democratize another element: oxygen. Her filtration systems reverse-engineered carbon dioxide to become oxygen-rich air particles. The comrade and neo-fascist powers immediately collaborated on building her tech into the substructure of every public transit and government contracted building. Since the fascists owned the financial districts and the comrades owned the projects, overpopulation could be used to save the planet we all thought was at its 11th hour. Building skyscrapers was no longer environmentally irresponsible. They were blessings. If Odette wanted to share Shelley's level of influence, it was crucial to pick an aphorism that would secure her future. She imagined Shelley could hear her the way God heard her ancestors and asked for her blessing. "Hold for inspection," the driver bot crooned. Odette's lips thinned. Elevator music traveled through the bus as the driver bot's fourth-dimensional tentacle swirled around the room, handing them quick licks. Her mind went back to the O2 magazine article on the spicy cinnamon pitch that helped thousands kick their nicotine habit while gathering potential thought crimes the neo-fascists used to beat out of people. "Blessed, I'm blessed," Odette said, chewing the fiery tongue-shaped candy. She felt a hand on hers and instinctively latched on. A burning sensation cut through her palm as she let go. Before Odette could see what it was, a fireball growled and sizzled over the arms and legs and fur of the cat girl beside her. It happened in an instant. Cries rang out and were snuffed by the sudden thrust of the driver bot's tentacle. The whip-like whine of its whirring quantum gears shot through our ears like 1,000 sirens as it sensed the sudden emergency. The speed of the arm's transformation nauseated me, reminding me of the crass Michael Bay films that depicted such transformations as part of a ballet of war. "I'm pure now! I'm pure!" the young girl cried, tears disappearing in the smoke. But the Pentecost read like the melting of a witch. There were some protests like this, outrageous acts of self-immolation to purge the sudden technological shift. Most occurred after Shelley's announcement from the top of Cannon Tower, where she chose to unleash the latest in her biotech in spectacular fashion. The driver bot's tentacle transfigured into an extinguisher and doused the cat girl, forcing Odette to hold her breath to keep the fumes from choking her. She winced and tried to remember her excitement as the lights helitrolley caught the silk curtain slipping from the bronze rings holding it up, and the stage's porcelain facade finally made sense, as did the rows and rows of sprinklers hanging from scaffolding. Shelley stood center stage, completely nude. Below her, a shag carpet of aqua and the outer shell of porcelain created the illusion she was walking on bathwater. A single spotlight, presumably from an unseen drone, illuminated her just barely, as if the Star of Bethlehem was the only light in the sky. Shelley's co-host, a deep and trembling voice, revealed the carpet was charged by hundreds of gigawatts, all of which were coursing through her body as he spoke. The static electricity that might have been harmless in smaller doses was almost certainly fatal at that level of charge. Yet Shelley was demonstrating the effects of using her tech to change the very fabric of her skin. Her entire subatomic structure consisted of nanobytes. They were not only impervious to shock, but drew minute increments of energy from the blue haze of rug. She was not Tesla. She was a living Tesla coil. She was not Prometheus. She was the fire. It was this epic display that held Odette's devotion as the driver bot carried Catgirl to the back of the bus. Her mind blocked out images of falling from the same height all those years ago. Lucky for her there was a pool. No, unlucky. Pool was shallow, she thought, digging her fingers into her prosthetic arm. Geysers of color rained from the sprinklers, pouring over Shelley's naked form amid sparks and plumes of smoke and fire. The narrator explained that Shelley's body had been transformed. Growing up in Middle America, she envied pop divas' indulgent music videos fraught with abstract imagery and impossible luxury. Shelley found these primordial desires nearly impossible to describe. Apart from nonsense phrases like, "I want to eat Christmas," or "screw a Lamborghini." It was one reason why the digital space inspired her. Shelley could finally stimulate any experiences that haunted her subconscious. You all wish you were pure, the lunatic girl laughed. The sound of struggle gave way to a shrill cry that grew fainter and fainter as Driver Bot closed the door. And the girl tumbled into the night. Meditating on Shelley's 2.0 advent was easier then. The colorful streams of light emanating from the shower heads above her were a synesthetic nightmare she invented during a crayon drawing in grammar school. The molten substances that dripped across her skin signified a fetish psychiatrists had medicated her to curb to prevent her potential harm. And yet, now it was possible. Shelley could bathe in paint made from charged particles of neon. That night, Odette's grandfather sat on the porch with her, strumming on his guitar while she drank a beer he stole for her. He said Shelley was something, but she couldn't take a shine to Odette's grandmother, who was jailed for staying out past curfew. He called Shelley a neon Bathsheba, and even sang a song about her, even though they were street level, and it was past 9 o'clock. Odette just rolled her eyes and sipped her beer nervously, hoping the shame she felt was a temporary burden that a new update could cure. Thanks for listening. As I said, that's from my White Devil collection of sci-fi short stories. But please don't hesitate to look on the Facebook page. The link is below to check out some of the charities that Brittany's posting. It's really good work that she's doing. So please support it. All right. Thanks a lot.
Hey, all right. Give it up for John. That was incredible. Thank you, John, for sharing more of your work with us. Speaking of really good work, there it is, John Matos. What a wonderful story. As you were reading, there were a few things that came to mind. You had mentioned like a technological shift and things in that, and that brought mind to me with all of this, like all the technological shifts in and out that have gone throughout figuring this whole online open mic experience. And you've helped me get through all those technological shifts, being so encouraging. Right before this, I was like, there's so many things going wrong technology wise. I'm sitting here with like my phone charging at 32%, and I'm like, John, please tell me it's gonna be okay. And he's like, it's gonna be okay. He's an incredible human, and I even noticed in his story he made these characters who are not exactly human at heart. He created them into beautiful humans. John, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your work. Please feel free to check out John's YouTube channel and subscribe if you can. It's called Strider Talk. And he has some really, really great insight and discussions about storytelling and all of that. So yeah, please feel free to check that out. In addition, like John said, please feel free to check out the GoFundMe pages on the event page. They're there. You can donate while you're watching. You can donate later. They'll be up there for a very long time. All right. So give it up for John. Thank you, John. Woo! Okay. So on to our next performers, I should say. They're here in the lineup for the second time. They're rejoining us, and I'm delighted. This is Alana, Berlin, and Sundari. So just to give you some context, when we were preparing for tonight, throughout the week, I had said, Alana, you got to come back. Alana, you gotta come back with Sundari because you were amazing last time. And she had messaged me and she said, we want to do an abridged Game of Thrones. And I was like, oh, so you're going to like read it? And she said, no, we're going to do what we did last time and make it a very special musical performance. And I said, oh, well, that's even better. So I want to introduce to you these two lovely girls who introducing you for the first time as Ilandari. They will be doing a kazoo and violin performance of the Game of Thrones theme. All right, give it up for Ilandari! Woo!
Okay, you can hear us now, right?
Hi.
Okay, I'm taking that as a yes. Okay.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
Right.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
That's our
everyone.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Give it up for Ilandari. Okay, lots of wonderful things. First of all, that was like quite honestly, that was beautiful. Even one of our performers backstage were saying, "Oh, I'm shedding a tear. That's really beautiful." And it was. I really know nothing about Game of Thrones, but you just inspired me to watch the whole thing, and I would think that as I'm watching, the music that's playing will be, not half as wonderful as that. Wow, I really liked. I I saw that you brought out a new instrument, the kitchen utensils. That was a great touch, and I like how you're using your surroundings, using your resources to create beautiful things. And that reminded me of, throughout this pandemic, people are stuck at home and they're not able to like go out and buy things as, as conveniently as they could before. So people are using what's around them to create and and cook and all kinds of things. And you had just reminded me of that, just kind of using your resources that, to create wonderful things. Um, yeah, winter is coming, but that really warmed my heart. Thank you guys so much. Wow, clap for Ilandari! Woo! Speaking of kitchen utensils and cooking and things like that, feel free to go on the event page. There's a lot of really great things on there regarding funding restaurant workers and servers who are out of work right now. Please go on there. There's a Philly virtual tip jar that goes directly to a variety of restaurant workers. So please feel free to check that out. Awesome. Thank you again for being here. This is amazing. I am absolutely touched. Again, if you're here, if you're still with me, say hey. If you're still with me, say hey. If you're in the live chat, reach out, message, text, send a carrier pigeon, let me know you're here, and I'll give you a shout out. All right. So, right. Give me 1 second. Okay. I'm just reaching out to my wonderful tech guy, Jonathan. Okay, awesome. Okay. So, I would like to introduce, actually bring, welcome back to the stage, our next performer, Ryan Neat. Ryan performed last time. He performed some beautiful poetry. And right after that, he sent me a draft of a book that he's writing, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're writing a book? That's amazing. And I was honored enough to be one of the people that he shared it with to read and look over, and help him select some things for tonight. I promised Ryan I wouldn't give too much specific feedback about it, but I do want to say that as I was reading it, I was crying, I was laughing, I was cheering the characters on, and I was on the edge of my seat. It's an amazing book so far, Ryan, and I'm super proud of you for writing a book. So without further ado, I am delighted, absolutely delighted to introduce Ryan Neat sharing an excerpt from his book. Everybody clap for Ryan!
Thanks, Brittany. All right, this book doesn't have a name yet. This is a dark fantasy that focuses on processing trauma. In my story, Shandy, a young elf living in an industrial society, has to go train former enemies, in the art of riflery. During her training, she's going to have to come to terms with both the changing times and a very dark past that she has come through. Throughout this whole time being haunted by a recurring nightmare. What she thinks will be just a 2-week journey there and back again is about to become the most pivotal moment of her life. Without further ado, here's the selection that Brittany helped me pick out from the book. Once we had passed the orc's gruesome demand for obedience, the scenery of our journey became much more pleasant. Our noise scared away most of the abundant wildlife Griamore was famed for, but the birds crowded the sky with such intensity I mistook them for rain clouds. I tried to make the hours pass by watching their erratic behavior. Each change in direction caused the flocks to expand and contract like a beating heart, giving each cloud of birds a pulse. I tried to count them to no avail. The scout Urag had sent ahead of us had returned with reports of suitable campground and a bushel of rabbits for our dinner. We arrived at our campsite just as the sun began to kiss the western horizon. Within minutes, the Kalsaks conjured a camp from thin air, pitching tents and setting a fire with speed and precision only barbarians knew. Our rabbits were gutted, skinned, and roasting before the sun had fully set. With the day's journey behind us, we allowed ourselves to rest, eating the rabbits right off the spit and watching the flames flicker. The orcs joked and talked amongst themselves in their native gargling. I was content with the opportunity to retreat into myself. Just as I had settled, however, the language of the conversation switched to Elvish as my companions began to probe into my personal life. "Tell us about the Fulshan Empire. What is it like to live there?" asked Wheeloop, Urag's second in command. "Well, it's a lot cleaner than here," I jabbed. "We've discovered that cleanliness and sanitation are the best ways to prevent plague. So we try our best to keep our trash off our streets. Our houses are insulated so that we can stay warm in the winter months. When I was a little girl, our empire was almost as uncivilized as you all, living in huts, fighting with swords, shitting where we ate. Now, we have improved the lives of all elves. How can your kind fight with such comfort in life? Strength comes from struggle," said Urag. "Technology," I retorted. "We're simply too advanced to lose a battle." "Ah, vain enemies give us quick victories," said Wheeloop. "I want to know more about our new teacher. Who was your father?" Urag cast his eyes downward as the other orcs nodded in agreement, cooing like children at a magic show. I chuckled to myself. I was surprised at their capacity for Elvish. I expected Urag to know my language, but the subordinates too? How long had they studied? How were they able to learn? I don't really want to talk about my father, as I had already mentioned to your captain, I stated it in a flat tone. Let me be very clear with you all. Now that I know all of you that all of you understand me. I appreciate your hospitality, but I am here on business. I intend to do my job and return to the Empire as quickly as possible. I am not your friend. But we must know, Wheeloop insisted. The father makes the warrior. How can we trust you as our instructor without knowing who he was? It's none of your business, I replied sternly. I made myself who I am today. I fought and beat your kind. I'm the most decorated grenadier in the Fulcian army, and the only woman to achieve an officer's rank. My accomplishments alone should say enough. The orcs looked at each other, unsure of what to say. Wheeloop seemed unsatisfied, and was about to press the matter further before Urag silently placed a hand on his shoulder. Taking the hint, Wheeloop suddenly found the grass between his feet far more fascinating than my familial origins. I stood up, dusting the seat of my pants vigorously. I could hear the wind rush in and out of my nose. If you'll excuse me, it is late, and I must rest for the day ahead, I said awkwardly, quickly making an exit. I heard the orcs converse once more in their native language, in a much more hushed and concerned tone. Shrugging it off, I crawled into the tent, closed my eyes, and allowed myself to drift away. Thanks, guys. Big shout out to a couple people, actually. Brittany, as well as a close friend of mine, Ronnie Lilac, who you can find on Wattpad. She's written books such as She Belongs to Krampus and Taboo, both very good books. I myself was just inspired today to make a Wattpad. I'm still figuring out how to work it all, but if you want to see what more trouble Shandy gets into, the first couple chapters will be put onto my Wattpad by the end of the night, and I'll be putting my tag into the comment section. Thanks again, guys.
All right. Woo! Okay, give it up for Ryan. Ryan, that was amazing. Woo! Again, I'm so honored that Ryan shared, this draft of his book with me, and I definitely look. Oops, what's happening? Okay. I definitely look forward to reading more, and I support you 100% of the way, just like you've supported me. Something that I had noticed as I was reading that really stuck out, which made me go, wait, Ryan, you should choose this section, was a few things. So he was talking about the cleanliness of the houses, and we're all running around trying to disinfect and keep our places clean. Also, the mention of technology. The way technology, not only tonight with this during this open mic, but throughout this whole pandemic has been such a huge thing in our lives that has kept us going. But the line that really stuck out to me most was strength comes from struggle. Just thinking about we're all struggling right now in different ways through this pandemic. This is, something that's kind of new to us and kind of difficult. And but through this, we're finding strength, through our writing, our performing, our dancing, working out, all of the things that we're doing, even if we're just sleeping, catching up on sleep. We're doing all the things that we can to find strength through this struggle. And Ryan, thank you for sharing that in your book and inspiring us to find strength through the struggle. Give it up for Ryan! Woo! Awesome. Okay. So again, speaking of strength through the struggle, let's build each other up, keep each other strong, and go on those GoFundMe pages and help some people out. Donate where you can, and thank you. I appreciate you all that you guys are doing. As Ryan was performing, my good friend Dan Torres reached out. Hi, Dan. Thank you. Dan is very encouraging and caring, and I always appreciate your support. Also, my dad reached out again. Hi, Dad. My dad's tuning in for the second week. I'm really glad that he's here. Thank you for your support, Dad. he volunteered to like maybe sing one week, but we're gonna work on that. We'll think about that. But anyway, so my next performer, I'm bringing back to the stage. He was in the original lineup. Again, I can't help but think that I wouldn't be here at all if it weren't for him and it weren't for his encouragement when he allowed me to participate in his own open mics that he was hosting. As always, sweet and talented and wonderful. I'd love to welcome back my dear friend Will Costello. Clap for Will Costello! Woo!
Thank you, Brittany. Okay, so good to be back for another open mic. Same as last week, I'm going to do 3 songs, 1 original, 1 cover, 2 original. Before I start, though, I should have done this last week. I want to shout out my wonderful girlfriend, Isabel McCreevy. She's the love of my life. She's watching this right now, so got the shout out in. I love you. Okay, so this first song is going to be a cover. It's called Fade Into You by Maisie Star, in case you've heard it before. I want to hold the hand inside you. I want to take a breath that's true. I look to you and I see nothing. I look to you to see the truth. You live your life, you go in shadows. You come apart and you'll go blind. Some kind of night to your darkness. Colors your eyes with what's not there. Fade into you. Strange you never knew. Strange never knew. A stranger's light comes on slowly. A stranger's heart without a home. You put your hands into your head, and then it smiles cover your heart. Fade into you. Strange you never knew. Fade into you. I think it's strange you never knew. I think it's strange you never knew. Okay. Done with that. This next one is an original. It's from my newest EP. That's weird to say that. It's called Leaving Home Briefly. the reason why I pulled this other guitar. This one's tuned down like a half step because I don't like my voice get that high. Okay, let's give it a go. Sweetly trembling to the wind song that's crashed on the couch. Tide of bowery sea, float away to a land where no one knows your name. Never be afraid, sweetly trembling to the wind song. Front door locks, no sound. Locks again, nothing's changed. Float away to a land where no one knows your name. Never be afraid. I know my love, oh my love. I know my love, I know. I know my love. Oh, my love, I know my love, I know. I know my love, oh, my love, I know my love, I know. I know my love, oh, my love, I know my love, I know. Okay. Kind of screwed that one up a little bit. My apologies. This show is sponsored by, I'm just joking, but Visa gift card. This pick is not a real pick. It's cut out from a credit card. Because during these trying times, one essential item is not a guitar pick, so it's hard to order those and get them quickly. This next song is called Paul's Theme. I wrote it, I just finished writing it today, but I've been writing for the past couple of weeks. So anyone named Paul, this is not at you. It's a very specific Paul in my life. Okay, so I'm going to start that. The bridge is collapsed, tripping through the open door onto your sister's cab and her daughter's blanket fort, smelling of shit and 3-day-old semen sold to the guard like an old and mangy dog. Forgetting the trip she told you last July when you stayed the night, when you walked her to a tree through the dash. Tree through the dash. And you wandered off with no place close in mind. They found you on the road, driving home from work, almost passed you by before they realized the sad man they forget was someone that they knew. How strange it is to see history through these eyes. How strange you meet another you never known in your life. How strange to be yourself, not the next day. How strange to love another, never see them again. How strange. How strange. How strange. How strange. find a movie that you hadn't seen in years and watch it with a child you ran from at 18. How strange it is to see history through these eyes. How strange you can meet another you never know in your life. How strange to be yourself, not the next day. How strange you can love another and never see them again. How strange, how strange, how strange. How strange. Okay, I'm done. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on again. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Okay. Give it up for Will Costello. Oh, amazing. Thank you, Will, and thank you for coming back. It's always a pleasure to have you. I just wanna bring up a few things that I was touched by during Will's performance. First of all, yeah, I love the way you used a piece of a credit card where your for a pick. Like I said, we're all being creative and we're using what we have around us to make art and express ourselves. So that was super creative, awesome. And it sounded great. So if musicians out there, if you got any, use anything that you have around you as picks. That's cool. I also, yeah, that Mazzy Star cover that touched my heart in many ways, which one of which I'll share in a minute. So I love how you you gave a shout out to Isabel McCreevy. Shout out to you, Isabel. Um, and tonight this is what it's all about is expressing our love for everyone and sharing love. And thank you for sharing the love that between the two of you. I've seen you guys like at open mics and stuff, and you guys are beautiful people, and even more beautiful together. And so thank you for sharing the love with us tonight. Speaking of love, I want to bring up in a minute. This is going to be our last performer of the night, and speaking of love, this is somebody that I have the honor of loving every single day. He encourages me through all of my ideas, whether just performing or sharing or any idea that I have that I go, Alex, I don't know if I can do this. He's like, relax, you can do this. He's my calm. He sends me that Mazzy Star song all the time, and I cry, and I cried during your performance a little bit. And he shares his love of music with me. He shares his creativity with me. And I want to bring him out. Speaking of love again. So yeah, the next performer is, if you haven't guessed, it's my amazing boyfriend Alex. We have our 6-year anniversary is coming up next week on the 25th. And I've been thinking a lot about how through the years he's been nothing but I'm gonna cry. He's been nothing but encouraging and supportive and reassuring through everything. And just going through this whole social distancing thing, just, being able to, be together in every way that we can has been amazing. And Alex, I don't know what I would do without you. When Alex told me he had something to share, knowing all the times that he allowed me to share everything, all of my creative ideas with him, I was more than happy for him to share too. I'm not going to give you too much context because he wanted to leave a little bit of mystery. But I am so thrilled and honored to bring up to the stage my amazing, lovely boyfriend, Alex Palma. He's going to share something with you. Give it up for.
Yay. Thanks for the intro, Brittany. Yo, what's up? It's kind of weird to be in front of an audience that I can't see or really get feedback from. I'm no stranger to public speaking or whatever, but it's just kind of a new thing for me. But yeah, I'm not a performer, I'm not a musician, I'm not even really poet or writer or anything like that. But I wanted to help out, and I do have a couple creative outlets, and one of them is cooking. So I have a couple of tried and true recipes, right, that I like. And like we all do. And these are recipes that I use to impress people, or even just recipes that I whipped out when I got nothing else, no creativity left, right? This is stuff I know. So anyway, Brittany encouraged me to adapt one of my recipes into a poem, actually. So that's what I'm going to perform for you all now. Hope you like it. All right, so this poem is called Where's the Bun? And it's an ode to mushroom cheesesteak. All right, so shiitake mushrooms on the shitty particle board countertop, chopped red onions, minced, vegetable oil in the pan, medium heat to low, cook until onions are transparent, sliced cheese on top, molasses Swiss dripping, expect moisture, wait for the steam to carry it off, open the window, please, it's getting warm out anyway. The warmth of the Philadelphia pavement sizzles under HVAC exhaust. The streets, the echoing alleys and thoroughfares, are as empty as we are full. They say it's the end of the world, but in the smell of a meal cooking, civilization. And that's it. So I only got one little poem for you guys today, but if y'all liked it, maybe I'll do another one.
Okay, all right. Give it up for Alex. Woo! Yeah, I would definitely. After that poem, Alex, I certainly have an appetite for more. I love how you were able to take the recipe and also put it into the context of the Philadelphia streets and the pandemic going on. Beautiful connection. Yeah, Alex, that was wonderful. Yeah, so things that I want to say. Yeah, one of my favorite things about Alex is that he has such a passion for cooking, and I'm very lucky that he's always willing to share his creative projects, as in terms of cooking and food with me. And if you haven't had one of Alex's mushroom cheesesteaks before, you must, because they're delicious. And after this is all over, perhaps we'll all come together and have a mushroom cheesesteak party, and Alex will share those with us for real. Alex, that was wonderful. I hope that you come back again. I love you. Thank you for sharing with everybody. I love you. Thank you. Again, okay, so Alex is he works in public history. And one of the great things about Alex, oh, hey Zahira. Hey. One of the things that Alex is heavily involved in public history, and he's been a strong advocate for this GoFundMe page that's out there for the Museum Council of Philadelphia, and all of the funds go towards helping public history workers that are out of work right now. They're all brilliant, wonderful people, and I've recently been brought into that world, and I love it, and I love the people in it, and they're wonderful, and they bring so much history and knowledge and love to the world. So feel free to check out the GoFundMe page for the Museum Council of Philadelphia. Also, speaking of food, again, check out the GoFundMe pages that support restaurant workers who are out of work right now. Take a look at any other GoFundMe pages that are on the event page. Go through, check it out, and donate where you can. So, wow, I can't believe it, but we are actually coming to the end of tonight's open mic. Where does time go? I've been thinking lately about how time is just not real. Like it's either, before you know it, it's midnight, or it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. Like who knows anymore? But wow, I can't tell you how thrilled I am that I've been able to share all this time with you. Again, this has given me purpose. This has given me love and life. And thank you for all being here, sharing this time with me. I wanted to, before I bring my performers out, I have one more thing oh, hey, Dawn. Hi. One thing that I want to share one more poem with you, in regards to other things that have kind of been bringing me love and life and entertainment lately throughout this pandemic. So it's been a while since I really like connected to a TV series, but since the pandemic started, I decided to binge watch the show Schitt's Creek, SCHITTS, Schitt's Creek. And something that I really loved about the show was how resilient the characters are and how they kind of have strength through struggle. And they persevere and they represent the LGBTQ community, like I mentioned earlier. They represent them in a very beautiful and respectful and natural way. And it's just such a great show. So I've been, that show's been really on my mind a lot lately. And I've been keeping very much entertained with the family in the show, with the Rose family, and getting involved in them and how they're doing. And also to entertain myself, I've actually had time to like sit down and read articles and stuff. So I was recently reading an article. It was an interview with film director David Lynch. If you know him, he is not of this world. But David, yeah, so he's directed Twin Peaks and different films and things like that. But the great thing I love about David Lynch is that he is heavily involved in transcendental meditation, and he has very strong spiritual beliefs and a generally like positive attitude about the world. And I was reading this article lately, and it was very sweet. And it was an interview he was doing where he was talking about how he believes that we're all going to come out of this, and it's going to be a kinder and gentler and more intellectual world, and it's going to be a better world than we started with. And I can't help but agree with that and be hopeful of that. And he was also saying that one thing that he was doing during the quarantine, and I think he's been doing this anyway, was he was making lamps. So, and knowing David Lynch, if you know his work, it's not too hard to be surprised by that. But I was thinking about how beautiful that is, that all of these things are happening and the world's kind of dark right now, but then there's characters to connect to. There's film directors that are making lamps and shedding light on the world. And so, man, I could keep going on, but anyway, I wrote this little short and sweet poem. I always do this thing where I have really long introductions and then short poems, but anyway, so it inspired me to write this little poem that I want to share with you. It's called David Lynch Makes Lamps. Okay. The rain is so very heavy, everything feels damp. Binging shows with Eugene Levy while David Lynch makes lamps. The world's kind of gone up Schitt's Creek without a paddle to steer. The days feel kinda dark and bleak. Let's transcend from here. If roses can bloom in a cheap hotel and directors can produce light, then let us trust we'll all get well and soon we'll be all right. So that was, all the little pieces of entertainment that have kind of inspired me to write that. So I want to thank you for listening to that. I hope you all find ways to stay entertained. Again, you can, binge watch TV shows, listen to your favorite albums, read books, watch cooking shows, whatever it is that you're into, do that thing, even if it's like, you know, just, you know, falling in love with TV characters, taking naps, whatever it is. And you know, getting involved in things like this so that when we do come out of it, we are a kinder and better world than we were before. So thank you for listening to that. Again, go on the event page and check out all those GoFundMe pages to support where you can. This is always the hardest part. I look forward to this all week. But if I must, it's actually, yeah. Actually, I love this part. If I can, speaking of kindness, I want to bring out all of my super kind and wonderful performers. So, John, if you could bring everybody. If you could bring everybody onto the stage just for a minute. Okay, there's some cool things going on.
Yo.
Okay. I know. Is Ryan? Where's Ryan? Is he still with us?
Oh, I think he headed out.
Okay, all right. So he'll take a symbolic bow again. That's okay. So yeah, speaking of kind.
What am I?
Okay, ready? All right. Speaking of kind, you guys have all been so incredibly kind in participating in this and indulging in my my craziness. And I can't thank you enough. All of you are beautiful and talented and wonderful people that I just, you know, going through all of this, I can't help but be so grateful that you're all here. And you guys, you know, like David Lynch is doing behind the scenes, you guys shine a light in my life so much. And I love you guys. And like I said, I'm proud of you always. So I want to call you one by one to Natalie stepped out as well, I assume. Yeah, she's probably got some sweet dreams going on. But anyway, so when I call your name, please take a bow. Okay. Jonathan Matos, please take a bow. Okay. Ilari, please take a bow.
Woo!
Yay! Alex Palma, please take a bow.
Ow!
Finn Baker, please take a bow. Will Costello, please take a bow.
Woo!
Ryan Neat, wherever you are, please take a bow. So, Natalie Heath, wherever you are, please take a bow. Okay.
Oh, may I interject?
A marker. Yes.
In the words of Jeb Bush, please clap.
Marker and I bow for my kids and for everyone. Yes. Please clap. Please clap, everybody. I'm so excited because people are reaching out to me left and right and asking if they could be brought into the lineup. So we'll be continuing this. This is going to be a thing that's going to be going on every Friday for as many Fridays as we can while this pandemic is going on. So I look forward to seeing you at future events. And I love you all. Peace and love to you all. Stay safe, stay well. And I'll see you next time. All right. Bye, everybody. Good night.
Oh, you have to bow too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna take my. Oh, I always forget. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.